to a photographer, and he has good photographs.
That's interesting, and probably quite conservative by nature. He's from upstate New York, and
I don't know. No, actually, I think he wasn't.
Oh, wasn't?
I think he was talking about being at Woodstock. And,
oh, I see. Okay.
But you know, you're going to see when I go to California and I release these shows. There's going to be one with Al Duffy, who's an artist that I met at St. Mark's, and he's talking about, as an artist, empathizing so deeply with the veterans that he's sort of lining up more with the conservative people.
Oh,
you know,
interesting.
You know, just that the veterans should be getting their benefits. And so I think 9/11 truth goes beyond the division of liberal and conservative.
Sure.
Yeah, that's my feeling. Anyway, do you want to try a hat on? Or this is the only
I like the
hat?
one Alan had on. That's not around, I guess.
Oh, yes, it's
Alan
down,
had a hat on?
down here. Shall I get it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, you want to talk about the snowman before we forget?
Okay, the snowman and the pumpkin down here
Okay.
are hand crocheted. They're cotton chenille. Oh,
You do.
Oh, here.
you can always put a fedora type hat on from the front to the back. That's a little low, Mark.
Oh, nice. See
Oh,
there
very
you
nice.
are.
Yes.
What do you think? Can you see yourself in the monitor?
Let me take that.
We didn't get the tag off, but anyway.
In any case, these are crocheted. Shall I
Yeah.
let your
Maybe
viewers know?
Joe might come in on that one.
By
That's the
a,
snowman.
By a lady in California, and inside each one is a hidden button or pearl crocheted in, which is a Victorian custom and brings the child who wears them blessings and good fortune.
Oh, really?
Yes, so it's a nice.
So they crocheted this with this Victorian.
Yes,
feeling in
but you would
mind?
never find it unless you unraveled the whole thing.
Wow.
Yes.
Wonder what that custom is about. You think of pearls of wisdom, and in India the pearl is associated with Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom.
Oh, perhaps that's
So
it.
maybe there's some protection around.
Yes.
And what else did you have? The pumpkin on the front?
The pumpkin, which also has a hidden pearl or button, and we have this nice newsboy here, which a nice plaid. These are all done on
Now-
the machine, but
Who did
in
this
the
hat?
city. The same person who designed it, one of our designers.
Wow.
And
Can
they
you come
make
in
them.
on that? Can you see the, I don't know, there's a nice feeling to it.
So-
Wow, and then look here. So this is an East Village designer?
Yes.
So
This
when
is a
someone
Village
buys a
Gamble
hat
designer.
like this, then
Yes.
you help somebody local meet these escalating
Yes,
rents.
and they're artists. They're not even sewers in New York. The same person who designs it sews it, as with
Wow.
everything we make ourselves. So it does keep a certain artistic
Integrity.
population employed in between their fine art sales and other.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You know, you have a reputation for helping a lot of people, artists and so on. You know, I want to tell you,
Oh,
I've
thank
learned
you.
more
That's-
about you since we first
Oh,
met.
really?
No, it's so nice when business people are sort of aware of the needs of other parts of the community and extend themselves.
Yes.
You like the show I did with Al Duffy, and then another artist who was actually a real bohemian because his
Oh.
parents are from Bohemia,
Oh.
and he was talking about the Bohemians, and he's an artist, and how in the 30s at least artists had patrons, at least if you were a stockbroker and
I
you were
see.
making money. But today it doesn't seem that's happening as much.
Yes.
Maybe because of the branding. I don't know. I'm gonna read Naomi Klein and see if I can.
Yes.
Unravel that.
The branding and I think the corporate media, basically. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we have to take it back. You know,
We
I'm
have
not
to
a
take it
victim.
back.
You know.
Well, do
I'm
you
not-
know that milliners, by the way, used to be prostitutes on the side?
You're kidding.
No, there was a show at FIT, and they actually had that on the main plank. That you know, as you enter, that milliners were prostitutes because they could never make enough money making hats.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
But today,
But then
I
it's
think
like they
that's-
can't make enough money doing the other things. So.
yes,
Oh, in other words, their real soul expression was in making hats, but they couldn't make a living at it.
yes.
Wow. interesting.
That's historically, it's not today. I imagine that the top designers are doing quite well financially.
Well, you know, speaking of top designers, the sound, something, I did something with you in mind, and it was, the newspaper was showing that Walmart was closing down someplace in the South, and they were, or no, some big executive was quitting or retiring or whatever, and they were going to move the design section to Manhattan. So the feeling was, yeah, something to do with, oh, I should get her right position. I have to look it up, but she was a high executive at Walmart, and they realized that the design comes from Manhattan. That as big as Walmart is, as low as their prices are, as many slave shops as they have overseas, they need good design.
I see how
And good
interesting.
design comes,
That's
and they
fascinating.
realized they needed to put the person in Manhattan or the
see.
department or whatever. And
Yes.
I thought, I need to call this to people's attention, because what we want to do is support the people who are already here and have a tradition at it. I mean, even Josh Walensky was talking about how his mother and his aunt, who eventually became high caliber translators and worked at the Soviet embassy, started off as seamstresses in the garment district.
Oh my.
It's just that they were so good, the Russian and the language was so good, and they were so educated.
I see.
But they worked out of that. So my feeling again with sustainable media is when the balance is right and they're serving the community, the culture is enhanced.
Yes.
Because you're using
course.
the money, what's made, to develop art
Yes.
and design.
Right, where they're just taking the proceeds of what they're doing offshore to
Yeah, and it's
yes.
just, I mean, it gets out of control. Like the Gramercy Park Hotel, you know, I'm going to come out on record on it. When it got all remodeled, and it's $7 million for an apartment, and they didn't even put slate on the sidewalks. And Gramercy Park, it's history. It's
Yes.
historical. Okay, they didn't have the wrought iron gates. Okay, you know, give them a break on that. But to chintz on the slate, it's just it just didn't have the feeling for the area.
It was probably the bottom line, and they didn't do those personal final touches that we used to take as normal.
Well, that's what
Until recently.
That's what I think a good retailer understands.
Yes.
So when you shop or you bring things into your shop, you have that sense, you know, and you balance it with the price and so on. You say, well, maybe this is going to be pricier, but my God, look at what you're getting in detail, and that's the kind of thing that shows.
Yes. Well, I had read that Walmart was the biggest retailer of clothing in the world, simply because people go there to get groceries and such and end up buying a t-shirt or something. And I didn't think fashion had anything to do with that. That whatever was hanging there you were going to get, you see, because you one-stop shopping.
I think
But that's good to hear.
I think once we get this show out, posted on the internet and also to M&M, we'll probably get a lot of feedback. And I think it's a really fascinating area, because I think even 9/11 Truth, it's a grim topic, but like everything else, more beauty helps us.
Connected to.
I've heard that Walmart wants to have more fashion, that they want to improve the quality of their store, because Target is getting known for that,
All the
to give
big names.
good prices
Yes.
for a more interesting things that they sell, so that in that price range, Walmart wants to upgrade a little bit.
Excuse me just a second. I'm getting some off-camera signals.
Let me sit.
Oh, you're switching tapes. Okay.
Okay, so I can read. I'm sorry I've been squeaking my chair, but
okay.
I'm in the worst position
No.
possible.
What's the matter
And I
here?
keep, well, my derriere wasn't in the back.
You look
far
good
enough.
on camera.
Oh.
I'm just going to fix
Pardon?
your hair.
Oh, thank you.
I see you.
That you may not be aware of is that Scott Goldberg is filming the shooting of this show at MNN for a documentary that he has. So I'm going to ask him to come into the scene, maybe come around this way.
Sure.
And kind of give people an idea of what your documentary is about.
Yes, the documentary is called Dying for Change. It's about people trying to make a positive change for the better throughout whatever they do, environmental change, human rights, political. So as you know, I've been following We Are Change. I've been following, I'm following
Right.
yourself. I'm following a bunch of other organizations, World Can't Wait,
Right.
Political, environmental, even people who are in health, you know, who are looking to you know, save the animals, I guess, or try
Right.
to make a better community and better self, you know,
Right.
out of what the change is all
Right.
about. So
What got you interested in this show? We met at Ground Zero.
yes.
What?
Well, actually, you know, I've been watching a lot of the shows on YouTube, like he has.
Because you
and
live
other
in New
people have.
Jersey, right?
Long Island.
Long Island.
Yeah.
So you don't get MNN, but you
No,
watch on
unfortunately
YouTube.
not. Yeah, but I watch on YouTube. I was actually on the Harold Channer, one of his shows,
Right.
in August. So,
Right.
But you know, I think it's great what you guys are doing. You
Isn't
know,
it
you're
a
just-
wonderful thing we have
Of
here
course.
with MNN?
Well, you know, you're just bringing everything together, you know, and like you said, you know, like she was talking about alternative media. I think it's very important as well, you know,
Right.
because like the media, they really don't. They're not going to tell us, you know, what's really going on. You know, if you look outside the U.S. media, you'll see a lot of scary things that's what's going on inside that we don't even hear about. Because it's all about
Right.
Paris Hilton now. It's all about American Idol. You know,
Right.
it's not about the real, you know, the war going on in
Right.
Iraq and how the real the death
Right.
toll is and
Well,
the
what-
war
what-
with Iran and stuff.
Yeah, right. What did you think of me bringing these two on as part of that solution?
know,
to look at the
Well,
solution.
I thought you were going to do an interview one-on-one, but you know, I
Yeah.
think it's much more important when you have three people going on, because then you can feed off each other and you
Yeah.
guys can all, you know, come together and tell, you know,
Yeah.
their sides of the story
but
and
but
what they
being
want to
but
talk
being
about.
that being that you're such an activist, did you get any insight into how we can draw the community together more? Because these people are involved with beauty,
Yeah.
generally speaking, and you can see how it could be a liability to them to
Yeah.
bring up some of the issues that are passionate to
Of
us.
course. I think the most important thing is to question everything, government, authority, because you know we have a lot of rights that have been taken away from us because of 9/11 and because of the terrorist attacks and all these things, and it's just a shame because America should be based on freedoms and not
Right.
about tyranny or oppression or what
Right.
some dictator's trying to do with the country. So I think it's very important for people to look at alternative media and try to do something like do a documentary, do something that We Are Changers is doing, and you guys, you know, with MNN.
Right.
I think it's crucially
and Wendy
important.
asked you a very practical question, and there's beauty to it. How do you support yourself doing this documentary?
Shooting weddings and bar mitzvahs, you know, looking on Craigslist, just
Isn't that great?
trying to shoot whatever I
So,
can.
so there you go, ladies and gentlemen.
know.
Support those that are supporting alternative media, and it's going to be a better world. So
course.
thanks, Scott.
Thank
Scott
you.
Goldberg.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
I wanted to ask Scott a question.
Oh, we have a question for you, Scott. We have a question for you.
Oh, is this going to be on
Yeah,
camera
yeah,
or not?
yeah. Just let it roll.
I noticed you said terrorist attacks when you talked about 9/11.
Sure.
So have you formulated your opinion on 9/11 truth as far as you're concerned?
You know, I can't really make a judgment. When I was working with We Are Change, I was pretty much sure that 9/11 was an inside job. But as I don't know that much about it, you know, people can say certain things like they could give out information, but I haven't researched it. It's going to take me a long time to research, so I can't really make a pinpoint accuracy on if our government did let it happen. But I'm still researching. You know, I think that's the question of our time, and I think a lot of people will wake up to it as soon as it is exposed. That's why this is so important. We Are Change,
Have-
New York
have you-
9/11 Truth.
May I ask if you've altered your opinions or tempered them in any way since all the filming began, since you began filming?
I try to distance myself, you
I
know, as
see.
a, you know,
To be an
from it.
objective reporter,
Of
you
course,
mean?
yeah,
I
because
see.
if you're biased, you know, you got to make a film for everyone. Everyone has to be able to watch it and say, okay, wow, you know, I can understand both sides and then make their decision,
Right.
instead of it just being totally about, you know, this is what it is. Like Alex Jones is in your face. You know, this is how it
Right.
is, and this is how I'm going to say it. There's
Right.
a lot of people out there who still haven't woken up to it, so they're not going to take
Right.
it as easily as, like, let's say we would, because we, you know, we know more about it. We research
Right.
more, you know. So.
Right. What do you think about that, Mark? Isn't that refreshing, what he's saying?
Yes, I think that's exactly what we're asking the mainstream media to do.
Of course.
So if it's not done here, then who's going to do it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
That's the way I feel. I'm not sure about anything, but at least I like to ask questions and see what's going on and keep
Right.
the information and the growth happening.
Of course.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Thank you,
for
guys.
being so,
Thank you.
just for making this.
No problem. Thank you.
Right.
And also, I've seen you on YouTube too. So
Okay.
in case people want to know how to connect, they can go to YouTube.
Of course.
Yeah.
How have you found him on YouTube?
I just
Scott
put the
Goldberg?
name in, yeah, from your show. Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
use
I
Google,
saw
it's your
little
friend.
stuff about, you know, I've
Or
seen so many things lately that I
Or
can't
Enemy for
remember what
Retail?
it all is.
No, our enemy just, I'm not very computer savvy.
Oh, all
I'm left in
right.
the
So
dark
he's
ages.
not
Oh, I'll
your,
show
no, it's
you
not
how.
your enemy. Yeah,
Oh,
right.
well, I
now
might
all
show
of
you.
a
Do you
sudden,
have one?
he. And a lot of my viewers have seen his artwork. Maybe you want to come in on this one. On a lot of the Webster Tarpley call-ins, because I use this as a. Can you come in tight on this? Because I use this as a background when Webster Tarpley would call in, and this is the bush monster. I'll change it there like that. It's a little too tight, so okay, great. Remember that, all of you viewers out there in TV land? So now, let me introduce you to A.B.C. Kramo. So
Thank you, Paula.
welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here today.
Yeah. Now, I met you in Union Square, and what really fascinated me was that you really understood what a bohemian is. Can you explain to my viewers?
Well, I understood because I come from a long line of bohemians. In the olden days, they were all alcoholics. But now we're in program, half of us. Anyway,
Even from Bohemia? Because
well,
your mother and your
especially-
father are really from
especially
Bohemia.
My grandparents were all from what they called Bohemia, which was a section back then of Austro-Hungary.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty old, you know. And they came over Ellis Island. And the real Bohemia came from about 1840 in Paris. There was an author, Mourget, and he wrote a book, I think it was called The Life of the Bohemians. And this was before everything got squished together. Bohemia was far away. And in Paris, they thought, you know, it was kind of like Dixie, that everybody there was just lazy and they sat around playing the violin all day and drinking, which was not the case, but they thought it was a country populated by poetic, artistic gypsies, lazy, ne'er-do-wells, I guess. And of course, some of that is true. At least in my family, I have become that. The black sheep of the family.
I don't think so. I mean, look at
The
you
rest of
couldn't
the
be
family
lazy, ne'er do
works
well. Look at
hard.
this artwork. It goes on and on. I mean, wow. Okay, but go on.
Well, that's Bohemia. So from that guy, Mourget, in Paris, 1840, 1850, he wrote that book. And then the opera came and the whole tradition of
What's the hopper?
the opera, La
Oh, the-
Boheme,
Oh, the
Mimi up in
opera.
the attic, and
Right.
the starving artists and the musicians and the whoever's up in the attic there
Right.
getting tuberculosis. And then we had the version a few years ago, Rent,
Right.
and I pounded my ass. Why didn't I think of that? I'm not an opera or musical composer, but that was a brilliant, addition, another chapter of the saga of the Bohemians.
What do you think is the attraction of that lifestyle? I mean, I often think that stockbrokers and straight people think they're missing out on something, and yet I know, that the life is a struggle as an artist.
Well, they are missing out on something.
You'd do it
And we
again if
also
you had the
think-
choice.
I think often, I'm missing out. Why didn't I go to law school? I'm bright enough, I could have.
Who
But
knows? huh?
what was the question? Who's missing out on what?
What?
It takes all sorts to make a world, they say.
Right.
So, in the olden days, the stockbrokers were not quite as money grubbing. And in the olden days, which is just half a generation ago, any decent stockbroker in New York would assemble an art collection, right? So we would be
And you guys
hand
would
in
have-
gloves.
You guys would
But
have a
now
chance.
they're buying yachts and houses in the Hamptons.
They don't
and
care about art.
They don't care anymore, unless you're already dead, and you got a name like Andy Warhol or Picasso.
Right.
I'm
right.
going to be rich posthumously. I told my
I know,
sister,
you're-
when I'm 20 years, I want you to get a giant piece of granite with gold trim to stick on my grave. Exhume me and get me a bronze casket, but anyway, that's a little morbid, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I believe Bohemians aren't into the sensationalism or the shock value of celebrity. I mean, sometimes I feel if I took from this and put a circle with a red line going through it and basically dissing veterans, I probably would make it into mainstream, and then some yacht owner would buy that, you know.
Right.
But I'd rather just stick
Right.
with tradition and
You sell out, huh?
yeah.
Right. That's
Yeah,
a
well,
good point.
selling out is reaches
you
different
missed,
levels.
You
but-
missed the part that he was talking about his connection with the homeless veterans.
No, I was in the green room.
Oh, so you heard that?
Yes.
Can you tell the story I did a little bit for the last show, how we met at Union Square and what you told me, and then if you have any library book there? we
I
can-
have. We met in Union Square. You had your little booth set up
Right.
with not this book, but another by
It's true. Webster Tarpley.
Webster Tarpley.
But you were
yes.
flipping through it and you found this,
Yes.
this picture, and you knew, and I was so
And which
excited.
picture is that? This one?
Because you knew the artist.
Oh, yes. I think everybody should. You'd be surprised who doesn't. They teach you Warhol and
Can we come up on this while he talks about it?
Liechtenstein.
If
and one of the most important artists, probably the most important political artist
is the guy
of the
right
century
here.
is, here's his name, John Hartfield.
Okay, here, let me put that here while they're here. John Hartfield, he did the picture. Okay, now is there the picture in here or not?
I couldn't find that decent one.
You couldn't
I'm
find
not quite
it?
sure.
Okay,
But he has so many great pictures in here.
so tell us about Hartfield.
Hartfield was a German, the era just before World War I. So he was born probably 1890 or so.
Okay,
And then the First World War started, which hasn't finished yet. Now we're in chapter 5 or 6 in Iraq, chapter 7 in Iran, going to be opened soon.
right.
So from many people's point of view, this damned war,
Yeah.
get the editor, this goddamn war is still going on. Hartfield was born, I think, in Berlin, anyway, in Germany. And he was born Helmut Herzfeld. And at that time, 1916, it was a custom to say, not good morning, you would meet somebody on the street. You weren't supposed to say good morning, but it was kind of like freedom fries or something. They instituted, the government, the Kaiser, where's this picture right here? Instituted a custom that you're supposed to say, goddamn England. Instead of good morning, how are you?
Really?
So Herzfeld, at the time said, I don't like this custom. So he went and tried to change his name legally to an English name, John Hartfield.
Really?
It was she back then, anything English. And especially
Even
with
in
the
Germany?
war going on. Yes, amongst the Bohemians.
So he's amongst the Bohemians, just
Yes.
like what we were saying, where the artists take a critical view of the critical view. Fascinating.
Now we have ripped jeans and stuff. Back then they would save all their pennies to buy secondhand clothes to look like a dandy. So they look, oh, this looks like the Duke of Bedford here.
Oh,
No,
really?
that's Hartfield.
Really?
And he was a little runty guy, was just over 5 feet.
Wow.
But he had, big, what do they call it, moxie.
Yeah.
I don't know
right.
what is in German.
But that's what he was trying to show with this picture. I mean, it's a lot of nerve, right? You're not going to have
He had a
Tyson be
great
your
deal of nerve.
patron. Who patronized him?
The workers. Hartfield, there was a
The workers.
so-called art movement called Dada, which was actually, they say it was cooked up in New York in the test tube here. Maybe some people who know the Hartfield, Marcel Duchamp and Picabia and Man Ray and some of those others. And then when the war broke out, 1914, it was like the first hippie movement. People said, young people said, oh, you're getting drafted next week. Go get your hair cut and pack your little kit, because it's a long way from Tipperary. So they said, okay. And then they would run off to Switzerland, or many of them came to draft dodgers, came to New York here, Marcel Duchamp, and they were just fed up. This was a war like George Bush says, to save civilization, to save European civilization,
Right.
whichever side of Europe you were. And they said, no, it's not. It's the end of civilization.
Where's history defeats itself here?
Oh, we have it here.
We're almost out of time? Okay.
And so this is a long history lesson. But these guys, they were in New York, they were in Switzerland, and they were, in essence, just like the hippies you and I knew so well in the 60s.
Right.
These are our grandpas. The draft
Our
hunters, and
tradition.
they said,
The draft.
this is horrible.
Well, critical thinking is important, and you need a little distance from it. And
This
I
was
think
before I was
artists help us.
converted.
I think, or do we have enough time? How much? A minute or so?
About a minute, yeah.
Okay.
I'll zoom in.
So let's zoom in on this, and you explain it. This has
Well,
been
when I
Paula
was a
Glory
young,
with Farther
now
Down
you
the
see,
Rabbit
when I was a
Hole.
young lad, I swallowed all the propaganda, and I was courted by these courtesans here, these whores. Can
Yeah.
you say that on your
You
show?
were courted? What do you mean?
Well, here I am. They came to my art show in Las Vegas.
You're kidding
These
me.
big, of course I'm kidding.
Oh. Thank you very much.
This is a photograph.
This is Paula Gloria, and this has been an excursion farther down the rabbit hole with artists. And stay tuned, because we're going to have many more shows on my series, How New Yorkers Contribute. So thank you, gentlemen, for joining me
Thank
on
you,
the show.
Paula.
Thank you.
Al and A.B.C.
pleasure.
Kramo. So, great. Anything from the control room about the Bohemians?
Yeah, go back to like the origins of the Bohemians and how that caught on through the rest of Europe, because that became the premier archetype of the artist from then on out.
Right.
Any comment?
That's absolutely true. And it's a mistake, because people in Bohemia are hardworking, much peasants, much industry at that time, heavy industry, like my hometown, Milwaukee. And it was just a false idea, like everybody in
Yes, I do.
Oh yeah, I'll
I
show you.
have
It's
to-
easy.
I had to dynamite you, and now he's going to show you. That's what I want to do on my
Yeah,
show.
that's
is to
what the
each
whole
one
thing is
teach
about.
one.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's like a
Yes.
family
And
evolving.
I also know, Wendy, you've expressed that a lot of East Village retailers have been kind of angry about the internet, or feeling that it's taken away business.
Yes.
That can be turned around too.
Of
we can make
course,
it
yeah.
more intimate. Make
Well,
it
you
even-
have to become
even
one
more
with the
East.
internet, and then the
Become
business
one.
comes.
Right.
Yes.
Do what
Right.
they're
But
doing.
yet there are certain things, such as, let's say, for you to get a referral from the internet,